The UCLA women's basketball season is one you don't want to miss. Your top 10 Bruins are well on their way to another Final Four run. We need you to get to Pauley to support this incredible team. Led by Lauren Betts, Gabriella Jaquez, and Kiki Rice, newcomers Gianna Neepkins and Charlize Ledger-Walker. This group plays an exciting brand of basketball and wins. The time is now to come to see these stars in action. Big-time matchups are coming. Go to UCLABruins.com/tickets to secure your seats today. Can't wait to see you in Westwood cheering on the Bruins.
Good afternoon. Getting right down to business here, serious business. We are doing it live, doing more at 4 weekday afternoons, right after the Guy Benson Show at 3 o'clock and just before the 790 KBC News Blitz with Randy Wang at 5. Motec on Money, live on the air on 790 KBC, streaming live online worldwide at KBC.com. The on-demand Motec on Money podcast, KBC.com, Apple iTunes, YouTube, all your favorite podcast platforms. Stocks end today lower in another seesaw session with both the Dow and the S&P 500 coming off record highs after making a run for new highs early on. Gold and silver continue to rally, with silver moving closer to $90 an ounce. Yep, you heard me. Gold is above $4,600 an ounce. Bitcoin has rallied today and is now above $95,000 for the first time in a couple of months. All this as the geopolitical spotlight shifts to the upheaval in Iran. The White House also locking horns with the Federal Reserve, and the fourth quarter earnings season got underway. So money came off the table today as the U.S. Supreme Court has signaled it's set to announce some big decisions, including possibly a ruling on the legality of President Trump's tariffs tomorrow. President Trump said it would be a complete mess, in his words, if the Supreme Court were to strike down his global trade tariffs. The Dow coming in for a closing loss of nearly 400 points today. The S&P 500 down 13. The Nasdaq down 24. The yield in the 10-year note now at 4.18%. The earnings parade began today with J.P. Morgan Chase leading this week's rush of big bank earnings news, posting a quarterly earnings miss amid a $2.2 billion hit to net income from an Apple Card deal that was recently announced. And we also saw Bank of America, Citigroup, Morgan Stanley set to follow with their own results in the coming days. Speaking of banks, we're watching what's happening at the Federal Reserve, and the J.P. Morgan Chase's CEO Jamie Dimon voicing support for the Fed Chairman Jerome Powell during an earnings call with analysts today, stressing the importance of independent Federal Reserve. His remarks coming after Fed Chairman Powell disclosed over the weekend that the U.S. Department of Justice had opened a criminal investigation into his testimony before Congress last year. President Trump telling reporters that the Federal Reserve Chairman Jerome Powell is either, in his words, incompetent or crooked, making those comments today, adding more fuel to the news that the Justice Department is pursuing a criminal investigation into Fed Chairman Jerome Powell over renovation cost overruns at the Federal Reserve. We also got the latest inflation number out today. The Consumer Price Index report, which is a big part of the Fed's rate-making setting decisions, showed that inflation held steady last month, with the rate coming in at 2.7%, the monthly increase of 0.3% coming in line with analysts' expectations, and the so-called core rate, stripping out food and energy, came in below analysts' expectations at 0.2% and 2.6% over the past year. That's the lowest annual rise since early 2021. Gas prices, meanwhile, falling nationwide for the seventh consecutive week, according to the latest Consumer Price Index. The average national price is around $2.82 a gallon, about 24 cents a gallon lower than the same time last year. $2.82 is the national average. Take a look at those gas pumps around town as you're driving around, a lot higher here. We also are watching what's happening with the international news, of course, on the geopolitical front. President Trump saying today that countries that continue to do business with Iran will face a 25% tariff. This adds another layer of geopolitical uncertainty to the markets already focused on Venezuela, Greenland, and now Iran. As far as Iran goes, the State Department is advising U.S. citizens to leave Iran now. More than 2,000 people reported killed as the president announced help is on the way to Iran. Some estimates report at least 12,000 people have been killed in Iran. The president, heading into a briefing a short time ago, said he's expected to get new numbers shortly. Meanwhile, Iran is looking at freedom perhaps like never before, according to a post on his Truth Social network. President Trump saying the USA stands ready to help. The president has several times threatened to strike Iran if the regime kills protesters. following all of this closely, is with us. Lisa Daftari will be with us this hour, Middle East expert and editor of the Foreign Desk. She'll have a complete update coming up later this hour. 2026 has brought major changes in California labor laws, including a higher minimum wage of $16.90 an hour, statewide expanded paid sick leave for crime victims, among other things. I'll discuss what you need to know with prominent Los Angeles area labor law attorney Thomas Lenz with the Atkinson Andelson law firm. He also serves as adjunct lecturer at the USC Gould School of Law. He'll be joining us live later this hour. But first, on your money, the markets, the economy, and the whole works now. Joining us live, Jonathan Hoeing, Fox News contributor, portfolio manager at Capitalist Pig Hedge Fund, and author of the great book, Price is Primary, How to Profit with Any Asset in Any Market at Any Time. Jonathan Hoeing, thanks so much for taking the call. Our first conversation of the new year. Happy New Year to you.
Happy New Year, Frank. Great to be with you. I've already enjoyed so many of your social media posts this year. You were always hobnobbing with the who's who of the media and financial world. So I live vicariously through your Instagram. But I am keeping a close eye, obviously, on the market. And you know, the market is not too far, as you pointed out, from record levels, given so many concerns about not even just the tariffs, but international unease and bombs going off and potential retaliation. It's pretty amazing that markets continue to remain not far from all-time levels, and valuations are up there too. I mean, stocks are up, Frank, and they're not cheap. You've got the S&P trading somewhere around 30 times earnings. Historically, it's traded about 15 times earnings. So market's up, and it's not cheap.
On there live with Jonathan Hoeing, and tomorrow could be a big day, Jonathan Hoeing, on the Supreme Court ruling that's expected on the president's tariffs. And what do you think is going to happen tomorrow?
Well, I mean, look, the first thing to keep in mind is that, Americans have already paid these tariffs. I believe Cato had a number, Frank, that the average household has paid somewhere on the order between $900 and $1,500 in tariffs, basically unseen costs. If the Supreme Court reverses this legislation, I mean, I certainly expect the Trump administration will find some other backdoor way through the executive branch to force them through. But theoretically, this could mean a massive refund to American importers. So there is, I think, a political risk, Frank. I mean, given the uncertainty about the constitutionality of the president's tariffs, that, it kind of suggests maybe holding a little extra liquidity these days isn't such necessarily a bad idea.
All right, in all this, hard to ignore, silver getting close to $90 an ounce, gold above $4,600. What do you make of this big run-up in the precious metals?
I mean, all-time highs, Frank. We've talked about this over the last year, that whenever someone says, it's at an all-time high, it's usually not the all-time high. It is just an all-time high. And bull markets tend to persist. We've seen a bull market in not just silver, but gold, as you said, which I think is still a buy, as well as platinum and palladium, PPLT and PALL. When this is kind of front and center in the American investment zeitgeist, Frank, I just don't think we're there just yet. So I think the bull market in commodities and specifically precious metals, don't make it your only bet, but I think now, if not now, win.
In the meantime, Iran's currency appears to have collapsed. One report I saw said the real went to zero. That's got to be a factor here on the jump in precious metals. Obviously, we're watching what's happening. Maybe President Trump will say something about Iran this evening with the tensions there heating up and people being killed on the streets based on the reports we're seeing here. What about all this? We see oil, by the way, moving back above $61 a barrel here at last check. What are we to make of what's happening with Iran, the price of oil, and the economic global impact?
Well, this could be true history in the making, Frank, for the better. I mean, if the this is my opinion, Republic of Iran falls, this is as big, if not bigger, than the fall of the Berlin Wall. You've got a nation of 90 million people, many young, wanting a Western lifestyle, wanting secularism, wanting to participate in the global economy, and the potential there, I think, is just really tremendous. So I know my heart is with all those striving for freedom in the Middle East against that totalitarian Islamic regime. But, the interesting thing about 2025 was as good as the U.S. markets did, international markets did even better. And I still think that's an area you could exploit for 2025 or 2026. One name I like, Frank, is FYLD. That's FYLD. This is an ETF that holds foreign high-yielding stocks. So many of them pay very, very high dividends. As one part of a portfolio, not the only part, but as one part of a portfolio, FYLD. Do your own due diligence, but it's working right now, and not a lot of people are talking about it. That's always a great sign.
All right, people starting to talk about Bitcoin again now that it's back above 95,000. As you know, we talked to the biggest fans here of cryptos, and there are still some harsh critics out there. You follow it. What's your view on what's happening with Bitcoin this week, popping to the highest we've seen at least in the last couple of months?
Well, this is what makes that inflation number, I think, Frank, so suspect. I mean, don't show me that, precious metals have gone up 50, 60, 80%, and Bitcoin, as you said, now up almost near 100,000 again, and say that inflation is steady, you're only growing it moderately. I mean, lots of examples, I think, showing and looking for dollar alternatives writ large. I can't say I'm a big Bitcoin investor, but one name I would consider would be UDN. That's UDN. It's a pretty unusual security, Frank. It actually goes up when the value of the dollar index goes down. So if you're looking for a way to hedge the dollar and Bitcoin isn't necessarily your jam, UDN, do your own due diligence, but it's one that, as I said, it goes up when the value of the dollar goes down.
On there live with Jonathan Hoeing. Be sure to check your latest Instagram feed. I just posted something else, so you might get a kick out of it. By the way, your Instagram handle, Jonathan, go ahead and announce it for us.
I am Jonathan Hoeing, CP, and I manage money, Frank, for investors of all sizes over at capitalspig.com. I do think that, you never want to bet against this country. We're always going to be the most successful if we always stay the most free. But it's a big world out there. And 2025, I think, demonstrated that international stocks, value stocks, commodities, lots of opportunities in place to make money. So I think there's going to be a year where you're going to want to look beyond just those same old names of the Mag 7, a number of which are actually down this year. I mean, Tesla, Apple, those stocks are down year to date. So it's time for some new blood, and I think you're seeing it play out in real time.
All right. My feed is at Frank Motek on Instagram, and I just posted a photo that I think you'll get a kick out of, so do check it out. We're not done yet. What about the shipping stocks now that we're seeing ships seized and so forth? Interesting that the shipping stocks seem to be doing quite well now that the U.S. is asserting its power around the world. What about that sector?
Yeah, I mean, it's another one of those names kind of underneath the radar screen, Frank, but the ETF has a very recognizable ticker symbol. It's BOAT, B-O-A-T. And, these are characteristically mid and small cap stocks. So these aren't those big names necessarily. And they're all high yielders. So this is a fund that has a yield of almost 8%, 5.6 some odd percent. And it's, as you said, it's also doing well as of lately, punching up above its 200-day moving average. So, my whole belief and the whole kind of a thesis behind prices primary is that trends tend to persist in markets. And boy, we've seen that in the last year with precious metals, and I think we're seeing it now with shipping stocks overall. You're seeing the cost of shipping really climb quite a bit. You asked about, unrest in the Middle East. You're actually seeing the price of shipping by a lot of the cost of shipping go up, and that's helping a lot of these shippers straight to their bottom lines.
That's very interesting. And back to the metals for a moment. They say copper is the only metal with a degree in economics. That's why they call it Dr. Copper, and it's been hitting record highs too, along with some of the other ones we've already mentioned. What about copper here, and what is Dr. Copper telling us about the economy?
Bull markets don't fight the tape, and there's a number of ways to play it. One of which is with the copper miners, COPX. Again, do your own due diligence, and for someone who really wants to focus on the metals themselves, D as in David, DBB, that's a fund that actually owns copper, aluminum, and steel. So it owns those so-called base metals that are really very much in vogue. So it kind of demonstrates, Frank, how, the market moves on to new styles, just like it does in the fashion world. And, 2 years ago, 3 years ago, we were talking about meme stocks and, and other, those are out now. AMC, GME, those are yesterday's news. And precious metals really are, that's where the action is in today's markets. And you've mentioned some of the examples as of late.
All right. And we saw President Trump getting a lot of selfies done today at the Ford plant where he visited. Ford stock down slightly today to $13.98. GM has been near its recent high. And as all these companies appear to be getting away from EVs now, what about the car makers since they're in focus once again today?
I've been impressed with Ford, the stock, not so much the company. And as a technician, Frank, it often sounds backward to many analysts, but you almost have to tune out the fundamental news sometimes and simply look at the stock itself. Ford is challenging that $14 level, which it has it tested in 2011 and then tested again in 2015. So I think anything above 14, the stock's at about $13.98 now. I think anything above 14. Ford is absolutely worth a look. And, you're likely to see some international consolidation. I think certainly the auto companies need it. And, Tesla has just kind of run away with valuations in the auto space. You could easily see some of these smaller auto manufacturers consolidate under President Trump.
And we're watching, of course, the defense stocks too. Boeing got a pop today, up nearly 5 to 244 and change, given what's going around the world. What about the defense names here?
Well, I'm a little concerned, Frank. There's a real risk now. President Trump has explicitly talked about limiting the pay for contractors, limiting their ability to buy back stock, limiting their ability, I think, to pay dividends to shareholders. So nothing against his aims. I'm sure his aims are perfectly admirable, but it does introduce a real level of political uncertainty when it comes to a lot of the defense manufacturers. LMT, Lockheed Martin, is probably the best of the bunch. It's a lot stronger than Boeing is, but I think for President Trump, probably best to keep some of those negotiations quieter, or at least not necessarily interfere with the company's ability to serve their shareholders for whom hold and invest in the stock in the beginning of this. So I'm concerned if the president really starts to, as I said, limit their ability to manage the company, these stocks could get hit.
And we're watching what's happening between the White House and the Federal Reserve. And P.S. The bank stocks started the earnings parade today with the big dog, J.P. Morgan Chase, leading the parade on earnings. What about the bank names here and this drama we're seeing play out between it looks like the Justice Department, the White House, and the Federal Reserve?
They've been huge winners, Frank. I mean, J.P. Morgan's a great example. It's doubled since the beginning of 2024, and I wonder if some of the pay packages, perhaps, and just some of the performance signals at least a near-term exhaustion on some of these large banks. And it's not just American banks either. I mean, Bank of Montreal and many of the European banks have all been enormous winners as of late. Now, if interest rates really start to rise, you could see some of these banks get hit if they have duration risk. But I think I'd probably be taking profits out of banks much more than putting new money to work because the news is going to be quite good. I think you'll see a lot of earnings beats and, interestingly, stocks fall even as they report good earnings. It'll be an example of what they say: buy the earnings, sell the news, or in this case, sell the news, buy the rumor.
All right. Well, Jonathan, thank you very much for taking the call and covering all the bases here. Appreciate it very, very much. We wish everybody there a great new year, a happy, healthy, and prosperous new year, and look forward to speaking with you again very, very soon. Be sure to check out Jonathan on Instagram as well, and the photo that I just posted. Jonathan Hoeing, Fox News contributor, portfolio manager at Capitalist Pig Hedge Fund, and author of the great book, Price is Primary: How to Profit with Any Asset in Any Market at Any Time. Jonathan, it's always great to speak with you. Thank you very much for coming to the line this afternoon.
My great pleasure. Thank you, Frank.
Thanks very much.
Nobody does selling better than Shopify. Shopify is the home of the #1 checkout on the planet. And the not-so-secret, with Shop Pay that boosts conversions up to 50%, meaning way less carts go abandoned and way more sales going through. So if you're into growing your business, your commerce platform better be ready to sell wherever your customers are scrolling or strolling. On the web, in your store, in their feed, and everywhere in between. Businesses that sell more sell on Shopify. Upgrade your business and get the same checkout that Skims uses. Sign up for your $1 per month trial period for 3 months at shopify.com/Westwood1, all lowercase. Go to shopify.com/Westwood1 to upgrade your selling today. Shopify.com/Westwood1. Most people don't realize how much of their personal information is being bought and sold every day. Data brokers are making billions pulling details about you from public records and the internet, then packaging and selling it, usually without your consent. That's how your information lands in the hands of scammers, spammers, and even stalkers. It's why you get endless robocalls and why ads seem to follow you everywhere. That's where Aura comes in. Aura actively removes your data from broker sites and keeps it off. They also instantly alert you if your information shows up in a breach or on the dark web. But Aura goes beyond data protection. With one app, you get a VPN, antivirus, password manager, spam call protection, dark web monitoring, and even up to $5 million in identity theft insurance, all backed by 24/7 US-based fraud support. Other companies might sell just credit monitoring or just a VPN. Aura gives you all of it together at the same price competitors charge for just one service. Start your free trial today at aura.com/secure. Protect yourself now at aura.com/secure.
The UCLA women's basketball season is one you don't want to miss. Your top 10 Bruins are well on their way to another Final Four run. We need you to get to Pauly to support this incredible team. Led by Lauren Betts, Gabriella Jaquez, and Kiki Rice, newcomers Gianna Neepkins and Charlize Ledger-Walker. This group plays an exciting brand of basketball and wins. The time is now to come to see these stars in action. Big-time matchups are coming. Go to UCLABruins.com/tickets to secure your seats today. Can't wait to see you in Westwood cheering on the Bruins.
Motaca Money continues, 790 KABC. Good afternoon. Stocks pulling back from record highs. The Dow down 398 points, settling at 49,192. The S&P 500 was flirting with 7,000 earlier today, but closed lower by 13 points off its all-time high at 69.64. And the Nasdaq down 24 points at 23,709. The yield in the 10-year note ticking higher to 4.18%. The volatility index moving up 6%. The price of gold popping above 4,600. Right now up about $3 at 46.0170 an ounce. Silver up $1.16 to 87.50 an ounce. Crude oil futures also moving higher, back above $61 a barrel in New York. Crypto's getting a pop today with Bitcoin back above 95,000, up about 600 now at 95,075. ETH also up to 3,319 Doge at the moment at 14 cents. NVIDIA shares moving higher to 185.81. Ford down 5 cents at 13.98. Boeing moving higher, 474 at 244 and change. Motaca Money continues here on 790 KABC. Turning now to what's happening on the geopolitical front. Specifically, we're watching the situation unfold in Iran. President Trump getting a briefing on how many people have been killed in Iran. The latest reports vary. More than 2,000 reported killed. As the president has said, help is on the way to the people of Iran. Some reports say at least 12,000 people have been killed. President Trump, heading to a briefing just a little while ago, said he's expected to get new numbers shortly. Meanwhile, the president today posting on his social media network that Iran is looking at freedom perhaps like never before, and the USA stands ready to help. The president several times threatened to strike Iran if the regime kills protesters, as has been reported over the past couple of weeks. Following all of this closely along with us is Lisa Daftari, Middle East expert and editor of the Foreign Desk, joining us live here now. Lisa Daftari, thank you very much for coming to the line and give us your reaction to these dramatic developments.
Changing by the hour, of course, now with this death toll rising. And I tell whoever doesn't have a confirmation on the numbers, a lot of news reports are very confused. We know it's in the thousands. We know it's going to rise. And I will just say this, we might not have confirmation for the past 15 days on what the toll is, but we certainly have confirmation that over the last 47 years, that death toll has been rising with executions. And murders and rapes and maiming and, poking out the eyes of Iranian protesters on the streets. This is nothing new for this regime. So Donald Trump threatened this regime, told them that if protesters would be killed, that they would be crossing a red line. And now he has to think about what that means in terms of how he wants to handle this and what level of intervention would be necessary and apropos to help the Iranian protesters.
And it looks like a big meeting is being held this evening, and we might be hearing from the president again tonight on all this. In the meantime, the Shah of Iran's son, very active on social media and also in the mix here. Give us your reaction to what he's posted recently, and might he end up back in Iran?
Yeah, well, that's, you hear it from the people of Iran. When you listen to the slogans on the streets, they're asking for him to come back. They are remembering his late father, the Shah of Iran. There is this nod to the Pahlavi family as the nostalgia of the Iranian protester who remembers, a better time or heard about a better time, the glorious age under which their parents lived under the Shah. And was it perfect? No, but compared to what these young people and their parents and grandparents are dealing with under this government for 47 years, they are, reflecting upon a better time. They look to the Shah. Of course, he lives outside of Iran. They look to his son as somebody who can be a potential leader, or at the very least, a catalyst to bring about the changes that they're looking for. For his part, he has spent years really grooming for this position and becoming prepared for this day, coming up with transition plans and coming up with teams of experts and lawyers and economists who would put this into action the day after, the day that Iran would be freed. And his platform has always been secularism, democracy, and then have a real election to have the people of Iran, those people who have earned their revolution, choose the way of the future.
On there live with Lisa Daftari, and certainly the economy was a lot better under the Shah of Iran. In fact, it was the Shah of Iran who ordered the G-Wagon from Mercedes-Benz as a military vehicle for the Iranian military. And many Persians here, of course, love the Shah, and they love that car, which is very popular here as well, right?
That's right. Look, the Shah of Iran, it was the golden age for a reason. Again, it was a perfect no. And I'd say that because there's a lot of criticism, and those criticisms put Iran and its economy in 1979 up against 2026, which is an unfair comparison. But when you do the comparison with what the Iranians are dealing with now and living under now, I think, it's clear what the Iranian people are saying. But more than anything, that death toll is rising, and you also see this regime not just shooting point blank at peaceful, unarmed protesters, but you're also not seeing them not allow these protesters to get medical help. Doctors that I have spoken to are being told not to operate on those who have gunshot wounds. Pharmacies are being told that they have to document those who come in for anything, any medical supplies that are pertaining to wound care. And then they storm the hospitals and are taking names and are arresting people before they can get any treatment. So the Iranians are very weary of even walking into a hospital or any sort of clinic to get any help. So this is not a regime that cares for its people. I mean, when they squandered all the money, all the resources of such a rich country and put it into terror shopping sprees to pay Hamas and Hezbollah and the Houthis and to put it into their nuclear program and into their missile program, instead of putting into the mainstream economy, you have, again, one of the richest countries in the Middle East with all of this oil, and you have people selling their organs or resorting to prostitution or having to work 3 jobs just to put food on the table. And then you understand that the people are out on the streets not just because of the economy, but because everything is wrong. They have no rights. They have no freedom. They can't dress the way they want. They can't be in public with who they want. They can't speak their minds. The economy is in shambles, and it's just this enough is enough is what the Iranian people are saying, and this is the most opportune time that I have seen covering so many years of Iran protests. This is different this time around. It is the most expansive we have seen across all 31 provinces, even provinces that were traditionally aligned with the government, that are more clerical, that are more conservative, that are more religious, are now coming out onto the streets. We're seeing generational families with grandparents and parents and children coming out onto the streets. We're seeing it across socioeconomic brackets, across different ethnicities throughout the country. So this time around, it's different. You also want to talk about the external factors being very different than it was in 2009 under President Obama. You have President Trump that has supported the protesters, that has put the maximum pressure campaign on the regime itself. You had the fall of Syria with Bashar al-Assad. You had the removal of Maduro. These are both big allies. And of course, we're putting Russia and China on notice. So I think very different this time around, both internally and externally. The stars are aligned, as they would say, and the Iranian people are saying, this is our time. This is it.
On there live with Lisa Daftari, certainly the economy appears to have collapsed in Iran with the Iranian currency, the rial. One report said it's went down to zero today. Can you imagine that? What about all of that with the currency in total collapse?
Yeah, that's, it's always, that always becomes the catalyst that brings people on the streets. But then, of course, it turns into a movement that says death to the dictator to remove the entire apparatus. Again, another reason why this regime has never cared about its people, where they squander all the resources, their economy again in free fall. Of course, people can say it's because of the sanctions, but they don't even have water because they didn't properly care for their resources to give people running water. So this is again, it's all part of the same puzzle. And the Iranian people have suffered enough. I don't think this is the economy will ultimately be the reason why this regime is not sustainable and why it will buckle. Again, they're probably going to be on the 1 yard line, and of course, looking to President Trump to see if he will get them over that line or whether they have to stay out on the streets.
Iran threatening Israel again if it's attacked. So we're watching that part of the story very, very closely. And in the meantime, the U.S. State Department has advised that U.S. citizens should leave Iran now. One of my first newscasts was back in February of '79 when I'd mentioned that time that there were Pan Am jumbo jets waiting in bases in Europe to evacuate 8,000 Americans from Iran as the revolution unfolded in February of '79. So we could see some more dramatic developments here, and I know you'll be following this closely with us, Lisa. So thank you very, very much for joining us live here, and we'll keep an open line to you and hope to speak with you again very, very soon.
Wonderful. Thank you.
Thank you very much, and we wish everyone in Iran all the best, and the Persian community here all the best as well, as we continue here on Motac on Money on 790 KBC.
Most people don't realize how much of their personal information is being bought and sold every day. Data brokers are making billions pulling details about you from public records and the internet, then packaging and selling it, usually without your consent. That's how your information lands in the hands of scammers, spammers, even stalkers. It's why you get endless robocalls and why ads seem to follow you everywhere. That's where Aura comes in. Aura actively removes your data from broker sites and keeps it off. They also instantly alert you if your information shows up in a breach or on the dark web. But Aura goes beyond data protection. With one app, you get a VPN, antivirus, password manager, spam call protection, dark web monitoring, and even up to $5 million in identity theft insurance, all backed by 24/7 US-based fraud support. Other companies might sell just credit monitoring or just a VPN. Aura gives you all of it together at the same price competitors charge for just one service. Start your free trial today at aura.com/secure. Protect yourself now at aura.com/secure.
The UCLA women's basketball season is one you don't want to miss. Your top 10 Bruins are well on their way to another Final Four run. We need you to get to Pauly to support this incredible team. Led by Lauren Betts, Gabriella Jaquez, and Kiki Rice, newcomers Gianna Neepkins and Charlize Ledger-Walker. This group plays an exciting brand of basketball and wins. The time is now to come to see these stars in action. Big-time matchups are coming. Go to UCLABruins.com/tickets to secure your seats today. Can't wait to see you in Westwood cheering on the Bruins.
The Inside of You podcast.
You're listening to Inside of You with Michael Rosenbaum. Let's get inside of Sebastian Maniscalco.
This whole podcasting thing, right?
I was doing it before every actor and their mother wanted a podcast.
Did you wake up one day and go, I gotta talk to people? You're an actor.
Yeah.
And all of a sudden, you're Barbara Walters.
Yeah.
How do we make
It happened by accident. I had no idea people would start listening. But when you're genuine, that's what attracts people.
The Inside of You podcast. Follow and listen on your favorite platform.
Motac on Money continues, 790 KBC. Good afternoon. The New Year's brought major changes in California labor laws, including a higher minimum wage, now $16.90 an hour statewide. Also expanded sick leave for crime victims. There's AB this and SB that. Keeping track of all of this, the expert in all this, I'm delighted to say we have with us attorney Thomas Lenz with the Atkinson Andelson Law Firm based here in Southern California. He also serves as adjunct lecturer at the USC Gould School of Law and advisor and former chair of the Labor and Employment Law section of the California Lawyers Association. Thomas Lenz, thank you very much for coming to the line, and Happy New Year to you.
Happy New Year, Frank. Always happy to participate on the show.
Wonderful to have you with us. It's been a while since we chatted behind live microphones and a lot to cover here. So take it from the top and tell us what the folks need to know about the changes in labor laws here in California.
Well, you mentioned the minimum wage. I think that's really important. And it is $16.90 now in the state of California for most people. Now, there are minimum wage adjustments also in the healthcare industry and in the fast food industry. So if you are in those industries, you're going to have a higher minimum wage to pay. And then one of the, I think, really interesting facets of doing business in California is depending upon which city or county you're in, you may have local minimum wages as well. So if you're working in Los Angeles, your minimum wage is not $16.90, it's $17.87. If you are in unincorporated Los Angeles County, that is $17.81 as your minimum wage. And so it goes on, but you need to pay attention to where your company does business to see what rate applies because there is local enforcement. And all this being said, the federal minimum wage is still $7.25. So it's an interesting disparity compared to other parts of the country.
Wow, that is really something, and that's how hopefully people can afford these high gas prices here, among other things. What are some of the other most important changes that have come across your desk there?
Well, you mentioned pay transparency and equity, SB 642. Employers in California have had to note pay in job postings, for example, and the expansion of pay scale is something that has come about through the legislation. So, wages for purposes of the legislation is going to include not only your wage or salary, but it's going to include life insurance, vacation pay, stock options, and bonuses. And an employer is required now to make a good faith estimate of the wage range upon hire. So it's something that I think is going to be more expansive, but also, maybe has a little more wiggle room in it. And that being said, the same legislation also is requiring employers to report a lot more when it comes to things like pay discrimination and various protected categories. We're going up from 10 categories to 23 now, where employers have to report their pay, basically.
Very interesting. What is this thing about crime victims, extended paid sick leave for crime victims? Tell us what we need to know about that.
It seems like every year there is an expansion of leave of absence rights, and it could be for a variety of reasons. But in California with AB 406, people who have been victims of crime, maybe people whose family members have been victims of crime or some violent act, have strengthened job protections to take time off of work, and that includes to participate in the judicial process. That could be to testify or possibly even to offer support to someone during the course of dealing with a crime, a violent event, or the judicial process.
Very interesting. And anything else? What about AB 692, something related to trade? Is that right?
Yes, AB 692 is part of a trend that we've seen trying to limit what employers can require of employees in, say, workplace agreements and trying to get employees to pay back debts that they may owe to an employer. And in this instance, AB 692 is saying that it is an unlawful contract in restraint of trade if you require an employee to pay a debt at the termination of employment. So let's say you loaned them money and you want to collect that back when they leave, there are potential issues under this legislation. Now, there are some exceptions, and they are very limited. But if, for example, you offered some sort of training, if the employee was part of an apprenticeship program, these are the sorts of things where that may kick in. So definitely get advice if you're dealing with that.
All right. Any other big ones?
Yeah, the one other one I want to mention is SB 294. It's labeled the Workplace Know Your Rights Act. And this is one where employers across California, as of February 1, are going to have to provide employees with written notices about specified rights, ranging from workers' compensation to dealing with immigration issues in the workplace, and the right to form and join a labor union, among other things. These have to be provided to employees by February 1. The state has created a notice which is available on the DIR website, and every year thereafter, this notice will need to be provided, and you can figure the way legislation is in California, there will be new stuff in there next year.
On the air live with attorney Thomas Lenz, labor law expert here in Southern California. Now, is there another one that changes rules on tips, SB 648? What about that one?
SB 648.
Clarifies that tips are employee property. Employers can't deduct credit card fees or take tips. So it looks like that one could impact those who all the actors and actresses out there. I mean, waiters and waitresses out there. They'll be impacted potentially by these new tip rules as well.
Yeah, California has been really aggressive in protecting against what people will label wage theft. And to the point where if you don't pay somebody what they have earned, that is potentially a crime in addition to a violation of wage and hour law. So this is consistent with that trend. And tips have been a hot topic for many years because they're handled in a variety of ways, lawfully or not, depending upon the workplace. And certainly many people depend on them.
All right. Anything else that's top of mind these days? Remember, we were talking during the COVID days, and there were a lot of cases where people were fired and so forth. Anything else that's a hot topic right now?
Immigration enforcement in the workplace continues to be a hot topic. And I think as much for employers who want to do the right thing and not obstruct what the government is doing, as well as for the employees who, for one reason or another, may face issues. So this is something where I think employers are wise to seek training on these issues so that they are prepared, regardless of what their position is on these issues.
Excellent. Well, thank you very much for that thorough update. That is Los Angeles area labor law attorney Thomas Lenz with the Atkinson Andelson Law Firm, also serving as adjunct lecturer at the USC Gould School of Law. Attorney Thomas Lenz live with us here on Motec on Money on 790 KABC. Stay tuned now for the 790 KABC News Blitz. You're on 790 KABC Los Angeles.
The UCLA women's basketball season is one you don't want to miss. Your top 10 Bruins are well on their way to another Final Four run. We need you to get to Pauly to support this incredible team. Led by Lauren Betts, Gabriela Jaquez, and Kiki Rice, newcomers Gianna Neepkins and Charlize Ledger-Walker. This group plays an exciting brand of basketball and wins. The time is now to come to see these stars in action. Big-time matchups are coming. Go to UCLABruins.com/tickets to secure your seats today. Can't wait to see you in Westwood cheering on the Bruins.